for a list here. Blank your investments in many stocks until you become an expert. Blank, blank, are an excellent way to do this. This is diversify your investments in many stocks until you become an expert. 5 is the word allocate. 4 is the word, or 6 is the word diversify. What's the difference between those two? Allocate and diversify. Why 2 words? Allocate is to separate into 3 kinds of investments. Mutual funds, or stocks, bonds, and cash. That's allocation. But inside those groups of stocks, you need to diversify. You should never buy one stock. You should probably invest in 7 or 8 different stocks, because if one wipes out, you have the other ones to kind of keep you careful. Mutual funds are an excellent way to do this. You can invest in individual stocks, but much better for you to be doing mutual funds. Next point here, number 7. I want you to track an imaginary portfolio. If you don't have money, if you only got $100 to get started with, and $25 a month, I'm going to ask you to turn on your awareness a little bit more by doing what I call an investment challenge. And I'm going to ask you to select 3 kinds of investments. The money market account, some stocks, some specific stocks, and some mutual funds. And to pretend like you got $100,000. Just make it up out of the air. If I had $100,000, where would I put it? Because one of these days you will, won't you? If you don't now, you're going to. So I'm going to ask you to pretend like you're rich already. And I'm going to ask you to allocate your money over these 3 kind of classes. Write down the names of the companies you're picking. How much of your money are you going to put in IBM? How much of your money are you going to put in some Wells Fargo or whatever it happens to be? What's the symbol of that stock? And then I want you to track that stock over a period of time. Same thing with mutual funds. Open up your USA Today and take a dart and throw at it. Pick something right out of the hat. Start tracking it. And watch what happens to its value over a period of time, so you get the experience, so it gets into your blood, so you really get to sense what it's like. Because even some of you, well, the reason I'm asking you to do this is because some of you guys are going to live to 100. Some of you are going to live to 110. In fact, many of you who are using Usana, sky's the limit, you know what I'm saying? You just never can tell. You're going to live way past your retirement age. Some of you are going to think you're going to retire at 65. You got 35 years left. What are you going to do with your life? You're probably going to have several businesses going on when you're 80. And you're going to be investing in your stock portfolios. Some of you are in your 30s and 40s. You've got years to get this into your system of how to make this money grow. And you've got years to train the people who are going to come along after you on how you want your money to be distributed when you're gone. Because you're going to go. So it's time for you to figure out the rules you want your money to be managed by when you're not here any longer. So this is an excellent way to do it. You just pretend like you got the money and you start investing it. And your awareness is going to peak up and you're going to get a whole lot better investing decisions based upon what you do here. Keep on going. With experience, this is what Warren Buffett says. With experience, you can afford to... See, up here I said diversify your investments. If you're investing in specific stocks or mutual funds. But Warren Buffett says, with experience, you can afford to concentrate. And what he says down here is, put all your eggs in a few baskets and then watch those baskets. Carnegie said that too. Don't try to figure out what the market is doing. Figure out businesses you understand and concentrate on them. Diversification is protection against ignorance. But if you don't feel ignorant, the need for it goes down drastically. Warren Buffett is not ignorant. And therefore, he does a lot of concentration. Number 9, blank your companies regularly, track them regularly, watch them, look over them. As Peter Lynch said, who was the manager of Fidelity Magellan for many years, one of the best long-term plays in the world. He says, if you don't study any companies, you have the same chance of success buying stocks as if you do in a poker game if you bet without looking at your cards. That'd be pretty stupid, wouldn't it? To bet money without looking at your cards. And therefore, you need to check your companies regularly to see if they still have market dominances. And number 10, the blank you invest, the lower your risk. The longer you invest, the lower your risk. What I'm trying to teach all of you guys to do is to invest even in an imaginary way. Because the longer you invest, even play money, the lower will be your risk when the time gets to the point where you've got lots of money to really play with. Okay? And your goal, everybody's goal in the room, is to take their surplus investment money and to make it grow at least 10% rate of return every year. And hopefully more than that. Okay? Skill number 5 is how you make money. Now, I've already got some of my money going out of my life and into my mutual funds and my bonds and stocks and things of that nature, even if it's only $25 a month. You can do that. But that's not enough. The future requires everybody in this room and everybody you ever meet from now on to become an entrepreneur, a home-based business person. Whether it's a network marketing company, which is one way to do it, or to own your own business of some sort, do some real estate investments. All of you in this room have to own your own business somehow. You've got to own it. It used to be in the past that we could become part of a company and buy that company and put our whole lives into it, but that's changed. It just drastically has changed. And it's been caused by global competition. These computers that are now sitting on our desks, you remember when those were not prevalent? How many of you took computer classes in college and you had a big mainframe that you spit cards into? You remember what that was like? Okay, that world is gone forever. The power of that mainframe is now sitting on your laptop computer. The big room of the first computer would fill up a room this size is now found on one Pentium chip. And it's a massive difference for our future. Each of you has to be a business person. What business are you going to go into? Since you've got to do it. Well, we're going to talk about skill number 5 here in just a moment, and that's the skill of creating wealth flowing to you from your own operation of a business, whether it's a service that you provide for somebody, or whether it's a widget that you're selling, or whether it's information that you're trying to market. Now we're moving into the information age, and each of you is sitting on right now in your life, each of you is sitting on $1 million worth of stuff that's in your brain right now. And tomorrow I'm going to show you how to get it out of the brain and how you can make a business out of it and to have that be your lifelong stream of income. But we need to focus right now on which of those 3 you want to do. Do you want to be a provider of information, a provider of service, or a provider of widgets? A widget would be a product of some sort. Some of you are already in various different businesses now. How many of you are in the information business right now? See, raise your hands on that. Okay, good. How many of you are in the widget business? You see, raise your hands on that. Selling stuff, things, widgets. Okay, and how many of you are in the service business? You know, providing service of some sort. You know what the difference is? The service would be, give me an example of a service business.
Accountant.
An accountant. Okay, he's not really selling you, something you take home. He's just selling you the way he processes the information. Okay? What's another service business? Pardon me?
Family.
A family? Travel agent. Okay, that would be a service business. Right. There's no widget you get. When you go to the travel agent, they give you a little tiny piece of paper. But that's what you get. And then finally you've got your information business, which is selling information to various groups of people. Let's look at the 3 kinds of preneurs you can be. And I'm going to have you choose which kind you're going to be. And how you're going to tell is by what your heart tells you. Because that's the only way for you to create wealth anyway, is stuff you like to do. Secret number 5 is to do what you love and the money will follow. It's very difficult for you to make money at something you don't like. Because when you wake up in the morning to go to that quote-unquote job, even if you own that job, if you're a business person, you own it, it's difficult for you to get up the energy that it takes to go to that particular place and do your thing if you don't really love it. Did I have to have too much? Did I have to work myself up to come here and talk to you today? Can you sense that I kind of like this stuff? I like this stuff, and I like you, and therefore it's not hard for me. It's not work for me. Oh boy, I get to go do what I do. See, that's what's fun. That's my candy. You are my candy. You're it. What a lucky guy I am. So when you go to do your thing, is it candy to you, or is it vegetables? Should be vegetables, I know. Okay. So it all goes with what your heart is. Now, 3 ways, 3 kinds of preneurs. One's an intrapreneur, one's an entrepreneur, and one would be an infopreneur. Differences between those 3. An intrapreneur is a person who works in a company but figures out a way for part of that company's profits to flow to them. Now, many of you would work at a stock issuing company, and you'd get what we would call options, right? Be able to buy percentage of the shares of that company just by working there or getting an option on it. That's a real part of what we call it being an entrepreneur. You're in the company, but you're becoming an owner of it somehow. And as the future unfolds, we don't have models for this really too much these days. But the models in the future are going to be, you go to work for a company and you say to the boss, hey, if I come up with an idea that cuts your expenses and increases your bottom line, will you give me a little piece of that? You know, and they're going to come up with models where they'll say, yeah, if you've got an idea that makes us more profit, increases our net worth, we'll let you have a little sliver of that profit for the rest of while you're here at this company. And the models are more and more coming, but they're very few these days because that's just not the way business is really thought. They usually thought of employees as pretty much expendable, coming and going. Eventually, you're going to become good enough at your skills where you're going to be a free agent. And I think that's what you should start thinking of yourself. You know, a free agent goes to whatever company they want to go to. Here's Deion Sanders just signed a free agent deal for how much money? $35 million over the next 5 years. He got how much money up front? $13 million up front. $14 million. It's huge amounts of money up front. Last year he plays for a Super Bowl winning team. He's got his ring now. Now he's a free agent. He's on the market. Anybody can take him, and they're looking for the top players. So he can bid up his price whatever he wants at this point. Are you a free agent in your company? Where you work, are you a free agent? Do they recognize your value that way so that if you left, you'd be out? I mean, they'd be out? If you left, would there be a big hole in your company? Or would it be like most people, put your hand in a bucket of water, when you pull it out, it just looks like it's just the company went right along without you. There's some companies that you need to create yourself as an indispensable part of that company. An indispensable wheel in the machine of that company. We're learning a lot about this. We're learning about the mindset. And I'm building a foundation for you guys right here. There's the way you think about money, the way you control it. And this stuff is very rarely taught in context. So a little snippet here. Like you're reading a money magazine, and you see this ad pops out at you, and it says, 5-star. Yeah, 5-star what? A mutual fund. Well, what kind of mutual fund is it? It's a no-load mutual fund. Okay, that's a little more helpful. How much does it take me to get involved in this? It's $2,500. Well, I can't do that one because I don't want to put that kind of money into it. Don't have it, whatever. So there are a lot of advertisements that are going to be coming up in your life here as you become more aware, and it's going to be more confusing, not less confusing. You need a system to kind of simplify things for you. So Terrence came up to me and he said, you know, I'm pretty new to some of this stuff, you know. And I get home and, you know, what am I supposed to do? You know, how am I supposed to get started on this stuff? I mean, how do I know how much extra money I have in my life? I've just barely started using this money tracker thing, so I don't know how much extra money I have to put into these investments. And I just said, well, pick $50 or $100, start off with some minimum amount that you think you can handle. You know, look in a money magazine. Just open up Money Magazine and look through the ads and see which ones turn you on. And then just call them on the phone. They'll give you a toll-free number right in there. What's your minimum investment? I only got $100 to start with. Some will say yes, some will say no, and finally you'll figure out one that works for you. Or you call in the yellow pages, you call somebody who's a financial planner and handles mutual funds, and you ask them what you can get involved in. So really, what investing is a leak out of your bathtub. That's your savings right here. That's where you're trying to get this money out of your life so you can stick it over there somewhere to lose it. Faucets, however, are what we call making money. It's being an entrepreneur. I've got to turn a faucet on so that I can have more money to flow into my investments. Now let's just see a bigger picture of the way the money flows. There's our two faucets, and the money's going in here, and the money's leaking out here at the bottom. When we have our business account, another faucet that we're trying to do here, we're trying to really create several different buckets to put our money into. Looks like a cartoon, doesn't it? And so, or what we're trying to do is put in three kinds of buckets. One would be very safe. Very safe. And so this would be your, what you call your emergency funds. Every one of you should have, 3 to 6 months worth of cash on hand, just in case it's an emergency. And you want to put it into very safe, very liquid kinds of things. The rate of return would be really low, 3 to 5%. And as soon as your bucket has filled up with money in that category, that little bucket, this overflow of money out of your life, then when it overflows into your next bucket. And pours into your next bucket, which would be what? Pardon me?
Sort of safe.
Sort of safe. Okay, sort of safe. Something that's a little, that's a good way to say it. I like that. And once that one's filled up, then what are you going to do with this last chunk here? You're going to put, high risk. Yeah, high risk. Riskier things. Okay. Kind of risky. And so sort of safe, now they're kind of risky. Okay. kind of risky. Okay. Well, most of us don't do is we, first of all, we don't know how much money we have left over in here. Therefore, we very rarely have these other buckets that we're putting money into. Very few Americans or North Americans have any money put away aside at all. Their net worth is only found in their house because they had to make a payment or they went in foreclosure. That's where the most net worth is found for most people. All of you should have 3 to 6 months in this stuff, and then it overflows into these other things. A lot of times people will put big chunks of money into a stock like a flyer. They're going into some hot tip that somebody gave you. You only want to put a certain percentage of your stuff in high risk, and maybe a smaller percentage. And you want to have more of your percentages up in this area right there. Now, that's the investment categories. What we want to talk about now, and giving further detail, is how do I turn on the faucets? Turn on the faucets. Because all of wealth is a process of turning on faucets and plugging leaks. That's all there is to it. Turn on faucets and plugging leaks. And most of my whole career was about turning on faucets. But it never was about plugging leaks. And I had so much money flowing here at the top, and then I looked 10 years later and there wasn't any money left. I said, well, I'll just go make some more. And finally I got tired of that. And I said, wait a second. Boy, if I'd just taken of all the money's flowed through my fingers in the last 10 years, if I'd just taken 5% of it and put it somewhere, there'd be a bank account with millions of dollars in it. Couldn't I have got by on less than, on 95%? Could I have got by on 90%? Yeah. Well, my attitude was just, spend it. Let's have fun. Life's to be lived, right? Well, that's a very selfish attitude because money is to be shared. And so the turning on the faucets, the reason I want you to do this plugging the leaks first stuff is because if you don't have a system for controlling the money that flows into your life, you are out of control. You're going to crash and burn. For instance, if a guy comes up to me and says, I want to be a real estate rich investor, teach me how to do that, Bob. I want a 100-unit apartment building. I said, do you balance your checkbook? No. I want to get rich so I don't have to do that kind of thing. Does the apartment building have a checkbook attached to it? Yeah. Does it have 100 times more money flowing into it that's flowing into your life? Yeah. If you can't balance out your little checkbook, what's going to happen when I give you a big checkbook? You're going to go belly up real quickly because you don't have a system to control it. So whether you have $1,000 a month coming into your life, or whether you have $100,000 a month through your life, it's the same thing. It's the same system. It flows the exact same way. It's just the numbers are a little bit smaller. $1,000 comes in for my job. I pay my leaks. I have a little bit that spills over here to go towards my savings. Pretty soon a little bit leaks over there to go towards my moderate investments. Pretty soon a little leaks over there to go to my risky investments. It might be $10 a month, because it's the same thing. So your money flows the same when you hit the big time. Then you want to have the same kind of percentages keep flowing, and then your prosperity just keeps growing like that. So plugging the leaks is one of the most critical skills. Unfortunately, it's not enough, is it? Because many of you are pretty good at plugging leaks. You're into budgeting and taking the pennies and all that kind of thing. That's not enough by itself. You have to know how to turn on the faucets. And you can be one of three people. You can be an intrapreneur, as we were talking about earlier. You can be an entrepreneur, which is a person who does widgets. Or you can be an infopreneur, a person that markets information. A person, how many of you were involved in USANA again here in the room? Let's just see, okay, so you guys are intrapreneurs, aren't you? You're an intrapreneur. You are linked with a company called USANA. And that company sells a product, delivers a product. And yet you receive profits from that, don't you? You've got a stream of income that flows to you because you're an independent distributor of that company. You are an entrepreneur inside a company called USANA. You're an intrapreneur. Somebody came up to me just a minute ago and said that 3M has a program where you can spend a certain amount of time every day on your project. And 3M will even, according to him, fund some of the projects as long as they end up with pieces of the profits that come from the deals that are created out of 3M. So a lot of companies are now moving towards that kind of a model because that's the way the future is going. The future is everybody's controlling their own money. They're all entrepreneurs. So key is, I got to find something I love to do. If you don't love to do it, then find something you do love to do. How do you find out what you love to do? We'll take a little sidetrack on a concept I call purpose. For many people who've never heard me talk about this before, it's really kind of a revelation. It was to me. I remember the first time I lost a lot of money. It was 1986. Almost 10 years ago. It'll be 10 years ago in February. It's coming February the 13th. I was working on at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's when it happened. And I was doing extremely well. The people were sending me lots of money. I was on a royalty relationship with a lot of companies that were marketing my products. They were sending me anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 a month. And I just get a check every Tuesday. And I didn't even have to show up at the seminars. They just sent me the money. This was good. This was good. This was very good. I enjoyed it. Money just flowed in. I didn't take care of it. Doggone, I just wish I could go back 15 years ago. Start that thing all over again. Be a different 15 years for me. Well, in 1986, a few things happened. A couple of competitors came out and started selling nothing down real estate seminars on the TV. Many of them are still on the TV. They're all my graduates, people that worked for me. Basically, literally lifted those ideas, and some of them were literally stolen right? I mean, almost word for word. And they started marketing these concepts on TV. Well, I wanted to do them in seminar format. So the market moved one direction. I didn't decide to move with it. And about $50 million later, they had that business, and I didn't have much business in terms of my seminars any longer. No, that's okay. I got lots of money. I don't have to worry about that. So little by little pieces of it. I didn't follow the market, and I kind of lost that whole industry. Kind of went off in a different direction. We still had lots of money, though, and put a lot of it into a big, beautiful cabin in Provo, Utah, up the Canyon Sundance Ski Resort, right next to Robert Redford's big place up there. Put about $2 million in cash into this beautiful cabin. Been offered $3 million for it by some foreigner coming through. It was the most beautiful piece of real estate you've ever seen in your life. Gorgeous property. $250,000 worth of furnishings inside. I've played all the want stuff before, let me tell you. I'm speaking from experience. That afternoon at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, my wife called, or actually the ski patrols called from the ski resort, where my wife had gone that afternoon to bake a cake for our anniversary. She took our little boy with her, Aaron. And I'd stayed behind to finish up the challenge, the book, The Challenge. That afternoon was a wonderful afternoon. I was going into all kinds of details on this book. I love to write, so I stayed back. I was going to bring the other kids up later. Got a call from the ski patrol. You better come to the cabin. There's been a problem. And I rushed up the canyon. It snowed that day, about 40 inches. And so there was a lot of snow on the ground, lots of danger in the air. Ski patrol was there to take me up the canyon to where the cabin had been. And as I pulled up there, I find my wife wrapped in blankets in shock, because she had walked out towards where the cabin was and had seen it just really decimated in front of her. As you can see, avalanche that had come through it had really just wiped it out. And she'd walked out into the snow, and it's snow after an avalanche is like soft, powdery stuff. You sink right up to your neck, it's like quicksand. And she'd swum around in it, finally got herself out. And bottom line, it was a very, very wake-up call to life, frankly. We watched in an instant a $3 million asset be destroyed. We ran down from the cabin to the home to check on our insurance and found out we were not insured in the case of an act of God. It's a strange way to put it, isn't it? And eventually there were some insurance funds that did come through after a long legal battle. But at that moment, we literally had watched a huge chunk of our net worth go up in smoke. And it was attached to certain bank loans that we had done to buy some properties that my intuition told me not to buy. And within 6 months, and in $10 million net worth was $3 million underwater. I was a millionaire in the wrong direction. And so there are a lot of things we'll be talking about even later on this afternoon about protection, how you protect your assets, come from some real poignant experiences here. Bottom line was my creditors now decided that they wanted their money quicker than I could pay it. And one of those was my bank, with whom I had borrowed about $1,750,000, and he wanted it immediately. And since there's no insurance, he thinks, and I thought too, and since the business wasn't doing as well as it had done in years past, they called their loans, which means that they took all the assets. Everything I had my name involved in, signed by the leases and signed by the collateral agreement, my Simon & Schuster royalties, and all streams of income flowed right straight to my bank, and they literally cut us off with nothing. It was a very awakening experience. It wiped us out, pretty much. I decided I didn't want to declare bankruptcy, and therefore fought that for many, many years, paid off lots of debts, 100,000 here, 10,000 there, 15,000 here. There's not a person in this room who's ever had more creditors trying to take after them than I am in front of you. I understand what it's like. If you've ever been behind in any payment, I understand exactly what that's like, because I've experienced that personally and deeply. I also followed intuition, and intuition was, no, you're not going to declare bankruptcy. I'm not saying that's a bad thing to do. I'm saying at that time, my intuition said, no, you're going to pay this back. And so I had to figure out a way to pay it back, piece by piece by piece. I remember coming down here to California and leasing a home on the lake out in Fairbanks Ranch with literally nothing, and having a reputation of lots of wealth, the guru of all this stuff. Well, the guru had gone in the tank. And it was very embarrassing and extremely, extremely difficult to live through. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. And the best thing that ever happened to me, in the strangest way. They always are, aren't they? It's no fun to be in them, though. Life is a roller coaster, isn't it? That's what life is like. And so that's where we were at that point. I remember jogging around that lake and asking myself the question, how am I going to pay $3 million back? Where is it going to come from? Creditors are calling. I say, just give me some time. I'll pay it back. I'll sign a note. I'll pay it back within 5 years. Give me some time. See, when you got lots of money, that's nice and luxurious to take back and look at your life and say, well, this is what I'd like to do with my life. When you don't have any money, you have the same responsibility, though. You have to ask yourself the question, what am I born for? What's my life all about? Some of you have never had that experience where you don't have anything, or less than nothing. Some of you are nodding your heads like, oh, yes, I know what that's like. But some of you here in the room have got a problem, and the problem is you've got too much stuff. Your stuff, you got your stuff, you got your mortgage payments you're trying to carry around, you got your car payments, that furniture loan you got over there, all this stuff you're trying to carry around, And you know what? You don't have the luxury of dropping it all and saying, wait a second. What does my life count for? What am I supposed to be doing? What does the universe want me to do? What are my talents? What are my gifts? As I was jogging around that lake out there, I was asking myself the question, okay, if I'm going to make this money back, how am I going to do it? And I found myself saying to myself, if I'm going to make it back, I'm going to make it back my way. Because I'm so far in a hole, I'll never get out. So I'm going to do it my way. If I'm never going to get out, then I'm going to live my life my way, for once in my life. It's a very liberating decision. Because I then began to ask myself, well, what do I like to do? What am I good at? What are my gifts? What are my talents? When was I happy? I went back over my life, my experience in my previous businesses. And I said, well, yeah, I love to do that. I love to do that. No, I'm not very good at that. And I began to go back and say, listen, if I'm going to make it my way, I want to do the talents that I've been given. What are my talents? What are my gifts? What are yours? Because that's where your wealth lies. And each one of us has different talents and gifts. And when you give those gifts and talents, that's when the world gets better. And when you don't give those gifts and talents, then the world is impoverished. Because we're all in a symphony, and you play your part and I play mine. You can't play my instrument, and I can't play yours. You can't be somebody else. You can't be an Elvis. We all had an Elvis. If you try to be like Elvis, you're an Elvis impersonator. And you know what that is? That's just a joke. It's a joke. You know, you are you, Terrence. There's only one person who can be that. I can't be you. You're it. That's it. You don't play yourself very well, then none of us in this room get what you got. And you've been given certain gifts, talents. When you magnify them, we're all blessed. You don't magnify them, we just don't hear your note. When you lose everything, you get this incredible luxury of asking these kinds of questions. What's my note? When do you want me to play it? What's my gift? When do you want me to give it? From that came a very powerful realization that people who are really good at what they do are on purpose. They're doing what they love to do. They're good at it. It's important to them. And they feel it's part of their destiny. They love what they do. They're good at it. It's important to them. It's part of their destiny. When you select a business for you to go into, you should be asking yourself those kinds of questions. Do I like this business? Does it express who I am? Does it magnify my talents? Is it part of my destiny? Pretty serious questions. And yet, when I was jogging around that lake, I asked myself over and over again, okay, I got to make this money back. How am I going to do it? Let's see, what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach. That's what I'm going to teach, because I like to teach. I think I'm pretty good at it. I like to write. I think I'm pretty good at it. I didn't know that for a long time, but then I kind of discovered it. And then I started to really practice it. And slowly but surely, we paid back all the things that needed to be paid back. And we came back on top, and happy to say that the sun is shining. But for many, many months, and there are many years actually, in fact, many, many years, one after the other, although the outward appearance of Bob would have been, he's got it together, the inward appearance was very tough. That's why I can tell you, and I've earned the right to tell you, that there isn't a person in this room who can't and shouldn't be very successful at what they pursue. And I don't care what your problems are, I don't care how far you think you're down. There's not a problem that you're experiencing that I probably haven't experienced myself. Now life's a little different, because when you ask a question about what your business is, you say, okay, what do I want to spend my time at? Because I've only got so much time. What talents do I get to magnify? I always follow my intuitions on these things and created certain businesses that really flow for me. One of the businesses that flows for me, obviously, is real estate. So I'm going to kind of show you what my faucets are. And you're going to create faucets for yourself, the way things flow for you. But putting your energy into the businesses that flow cash to you based upon your talents. And there's a good chapter in Nothing Down for the 90s, which is called How to... it's a chapter on goal setting. It's like the third chapter into it, where I go into great detail about this concept I call purpose. And I don't have a lot of time for us to talk about it here. But the 4 questions I want you to ask yourself tomorrow, next day, when you get up in the morning, is what am I good at? What do I love to do? What is important to me? And what is my destiny? What am I good at? What is important to me? What do I love to do? What's my destiny? And then, as you make money, make sure that none of your businesses go outside of the boundaries of what you just wrote down. Otherwise, what you basically said is, I want to do things just for the money. Because this is the way most of America operates. If I can just get enough money, why, I can do anything I want to do. Have you heard that formula before? You can buy anything in this world for money, right? If I just go get enough money, then I can do what I want to do. Have you ever heard that formula before? It's in almost every advertisement you'll ever see. I just get enough money and you do whatever you want. And I'm trying to tell you that formula is absolutely backwards. If you'll figure out purpose, you figure out what you're supposed to do, then you are flowing with the forces of the universe. The money is going to flow to you. If you don't figure out what purpose is, the money is not going to flow to you because you will not want to do it. There's going to be a part of your soul who is going to be dying as a process. And you say, this is not what I was born to do. And you'll have to get up in the morning and go do that to get the money, and you're going to feel like a prostitute because it's not what you want to do. It's not what you were born to do. It's not where your life flows. So, purpose is, well, watch TV. If you want to see somebody on purpose, watch TV and watch the different people being interviewed. You can tell the ones that are on purpose. Oh, I love to do what I do. I mean, this is so much fun. Yeah, we're doing this and we're doing that. And don't tell anybody, but I would do this for free. You hear that a lot. And you can see the people who are really like, they are on purpose. They're doing what they love to do. For me, it's teaching. I don't know what your purpose is. For me, I have 3 basic funnels that flow into my life. And one of them, obviously, is the real estate funnel. And dollars flow into the real estate funnel for me as I teach people how to create, real estate wealth. And we do our seminars. I have various companies that market our real estate seminars. And I love that. I'm not as passionate about real estate as I used to be. But I certainly love the process of teaching a person and watch their eyes go light up. Oh, you mean to tell me that? And you show them all the many ways there are to create wealth through real estate. And so I have my books, and I've got various different products that we sell, and I've got my real estate seminars that we do. That's, for me, is purpose. Each of you is going to come up with, something that's similar to this. My other funnel, when I believe in multiple streams of income, you might have heard me talk about that before, would be infopreneuring. Infopreneuring, which is a combination of information and entrepreneurship, or how to teach people how to sell information and to get out what is in their head to audiences that want that information and to make profit doing that. And I've done that extremely well in the real estate industry. Now I've broadened it out to any industry. You can sell information no matter where you're at. In fact, everybody in this room should be what I call an information multimillionaire eventually. Because as you generate success, you also generate the story. And as you generate the story is sellable. And we'll be talking about that tomorrow. Okay? And then obviously the third funnel that I am absolutely in love with is USANA. And those of you who are not involved in USANA, it's a network marketing company that markets a product that is just incredible, a health-related system. And it's involved in network marketing, which is an industry I had never done before. But as I got involved in USANA and discovered the ways in which people create wealth through network marketing, I just loved it. My intuition said, yeah, that's where you should be. Now, these are my 3 funnels where money flows into my life. And each of these different funnels has little side rivulets that's coming off it. There's about 12 to 15 different streams of income from those 3. This is where I make my money that flows in. Each of you is going to be having several different faucets. And I'd like you to right now to take a blank piece of paper and write on that blank piece of paper the funnels, or the faucets, where money flows to you from various different sources, all right? And some of you will only have one faucet, and some of you have several. I'd like you to add up how many faucets you have, using this as kind of a model here. And here's your bathtub, and the money funnels in, or faucets in. You can do a faucet if you want. And just take a moment. I'm going to give you a few minutes to do this. Notice how the money flows in from various different sources right now. Okay? I'll give you 2 minutes. Go ahead and do that. Okay, so when I was running around the lake and asking myself the question, how am I going to make $3 million back? How can I get myself out of this hole? I said, well, if I could get myself out of the hole, how would I like to see it? Because I'm going to have to make it from scratch, so why not make it my way? Like the way I want to see it. Rather than like doing it the way normal people, well, I'd like to have a little office, not too many people in it. I'd like to be able to work very close to that office. Okay, good. I'd like to be able to be no more than maybe 10 minutes away from that office. I'd like people to come to me. I don't want to have to go to them. So if they're going to have a seminar, they'll come here. I'd like to be able to do most of my writing at home. I'd like to be able to not have to get in a suit unless I have to get in a suit. Most of the time, if you come to my house, you'll find me when I get up. I put on my jogging shorts and my t-shirt. I put a baseball hat on, or a football hat on, a cap. I don't shave. And I'll be there the entire day working in my office. Kids are running in and out, talking, the phone's ringing, wife's coming in, you know, boom, boom, things are happening right there. I said, that's the way I want it to be. That's the way I want it. I'm going to do it that way. Whether I'm $3 million in the hole, or whether I'm plus $3 million, or whether I'm up $30 million, that's the way I want to do it. So why should I go start off and do it the way you're supposed to do it? Since I'm so far in the hole anyway, I'll just start my own way right now. And so that's the way we started to create it. I'm never going to work past 6 o'clock at night, ever, because my wife won't let me. And if I ever do any traveling, it'll never be more than a couple days at a time. And I try to keep that down as much as possible. In other words, that's the way I design it. How is your design here? So if you design it that way, how many employees would you have if you could have the ideal number of employees? How much office space would you take up? Where would it be? See what I'm saying? I'm asking you that before you start your business, you ask that question, and then you start it that way. And you not even consider doing it the way they do it out there, but you do it the way it flows for you. Because and when you're on purpose, you have to flow your way. It makes it natural. Most people are swimming upstream. And there's very